Hey today's story manifestor, I'm so glad you're here. I'm Leah Falls, writer and actor, and today we're going to be talking a little bit of a year in review in terms of writing, in terms of publishing, in terms of where I am with my writing journey. So next year, it works! I was going to say next week instead of next year, but it works because it's both. So next year, I'll be going back to my regular content, but I want to give you all a little bit of an update. And if you've watched last week, you know that I haven't really been able to write scripts over the holidays. But yeah, a lot happened in terms of writing, and so much else happened that when I wrote down actually everything that happened on my writing journey, I was a little bit shocked because I hadn't realized how much stuff happened there as well, because world events overshadowed it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an update. And then I'm going to tell you the couple of things that I'm hoping to achieve next year in terms of my writing and publishing journey. And for that, we will have the, oh God, what was the name again? Pyrotechnics. The pyrotechnics. We will have fireworks to welcome the new year. So stick around for that. And seeing as this is kind of a free-form vlog, this is not a vlog, but sit down and talk video, I figured we'll turn it into another cozy kombucha hour. So I got my kombucha here. And because it's almost New Year's Eve, especially when this comes out, it's a fancy glass. It's a glass, but it's fancy. Oh, and it's dirty. It's not that dirty. So let me get my kombucha. We're going with Watermelon Wonder. Sort of the same color as my dress, so, you know. Making it work here on the set. Perfect. It looks like alcohol, and it has some in it. Okay, cheers to celebrating our accomplishments and our hopes for the new year. Alright, so first of all, this year was my second year as a full-time writer and actor, although the actor part started out really great this year and then quarantine happened, so a little bit of a hold on a full-time actor, I'd say, because I can't leave the house for auditions. But it's my second year as a full-time writer, and that is very, very weird for me to think about and say, because the past 2 years were, yeah, they moved kind of quick, and I'm actually shocked that it's been this long, but I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful for it. So while this is going to be this year's review, I just want to mention that the year before was all my debut novel. I've just been working on it. I was working on it almost every day. I wrote so much more than this year, and it very much consumed that year. So how I started this year was in sort of a strange space. I started this year querying my debut novel. Name is Goddess of Limbo. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's an epic fantasy. It's an epic fantasy. I'm going to pitch it kind of Stormlight Archives meets Game of Thrones. It has interweaving narratives of multiple perspectives, and it's sort of based on the idea of what if the two Reaper gods, so there's two Reapers, decide that they want to be the main gods and slay the actual pantheon, and the world goes awry. And I'm gonna have my website up soon with the real blurb, because I still need to practice how to talk about that book in a few terms. But anyway, so I was querying it, and that was sort of a interesting experience for me, because I went full out. I wrote so many query letters, and I tend to like really sink into a task and then just stay on that task for weeks. And I queried a lot of agents, and some were really, really nice, and I got some good feedback. The problem is it's just not good for the traditional market. It's going to be a 5 to 7 book series. It's epic fantasy, so it's about 750 pages long. I'm not sure the permitting is going to be done in January next year. So close. So I don't know the page count until then, but it's kind of too big for the traditional market. And I knew that going into it, but I was still sort of hopeful because I really do want to be traditionally published as well. But the whole year I was back and forth on whether, not this year, the year before, I was back and forth on whether I want to go indie with it or traditionally publish it. And then I was in a really cool writer's workshop. I don't want to go into this too much because really it's not this year. But I met an agent there and I kind of got my hopes up a little bit. So I was still querying at the beginning of this year, but I was getting a bunch of rejections, and the rejections all said the same thing, which is that it's too long for a traditional debut. And that's sort of I can't really change that, you know. I then decided, just to be sure, I did another beta run at the beginning of the year to see if it's too long. Like, I was in this really difficult spot, and I'm sort of still there, where every reader feedback I've gotten and every beta reader I've heard said that the length is great. And I specifically asked about it, and I asked about it in like every chapter. Do you think this chapter is necessary and all this stuff? And they said yes. And then everyone who didn't know what the book was about and hadn't read it said, no, it's definitely too long. And I was in this like, okay, I wanna, you know, make it marketable and make it fit into the industry. But at the same time, I want to be truthful to my story. And that's the most important part for me. I want to tell my character story the best way I can. And I love this book. It means so much to me. And I don't want to try to force it into something it's not. So I decided I'm going to go indie with it, and I'm going to publish the series by myself because, well, the market is changing in general, and I really do believe in the story, and yeah, those were the reasons. So at the beginning of this year, I then decided, okay, I'm going to go indie with it. I'm not going to try and query anymore. I'm good. But it's good to know that I know now how to query. I've talked to some agents, and I kind of have the idea of what they're looking for and what the problem is. So I wanted to write a book separate of the series that I would query, and that I then wanted to, you know, become a hybrid author. So I wanted to go traditional with a new story and publish my fantasy series by myself. Cheers to that. And that was a huge step in my journey, because as a little bit of a feedback here, I've been writing since I was a kid. I don't know, I think I finished my first story at 9, and then at 11 I wrote my first screenplay. I've always loved writing, and storytelling is super important to me, but I felt like I had to choose for a really long time, and I chose acting. Partially, honestly, because of the whole time pressure. There's such a time pressure on acting, that you have to be young and that you have to get, you know, you have to build your resume quickly enough that you're still marketable. And I'm now slowly dismantling that and saying, you know what, it's not how the world should work. So I'm not going to pressure myself into ageism and tell myself, oh no, I'm 27 now and that's so old. I can't be discovered anymore, because it's very unhealthy for me, and it's just not how I want the world to be. So I'm not going to meet it like that anymore. That story aside, I focused on acting first. So I studied acting, and that was my main thing. And I wrote screenplays still, and I wrote plays, and I wrote poems. But I had this dream of writing a book, but I didn't feel like I could do that because I felt like I had to commit my soul to acting. Sell my soul to acting. You know, it's like some acting teachers talk about it like that. There's books that talk about it like that. I've read more than one book where they say, okay, if you ever get sick, then you screwed up because you didn't sell your soul well enough to acting and you're not committed enough. And tiny bits of alcohol. It wasn't until I fell in love with this story, that's why this book means so much to me, the series means so much to me, and fell in love with these characters, that I realized I could actually be an author already, and that I wanted both. So, yeah, I found myself in this very strange place of, okay, another book. I'm going to write the sequel, of course, but now that I'm going indie, and I want to still be traditionally published, and I have all these other ideas, and I have all these book ideas pushing me, I can write another book. Like, I'm just going to keep doing that, and that's really been a journey for me this year, because I went from I'm going to be the author of Goddess of Limbo and of the Forgotten Splinters Chronicles, and I'm going to love that, to I'm going to be an author. That's going to be my career. I'm deciding that, and that's going to include the Forgotten Splinters Chronicles, and I'm going to love them. But it's also going to include a lot of other books. And that's been really great. That came with a bit of a difficulty though, of like stress writing at the beginning of the year and the end of the year before. So I did NaNoWriMo the first time there, and I thought that I had to do it hardcore pantser, because that's how I wrote the first book. And I had a teacher who was kind of telling me that, and I was really nervous of just being a one-hit wonder, or just being able to write these characters and no one else. So I put a lot of pressure on my NaNoWriMo there, and I don't like the story. It didn't come out well. It didn't come together. It was sort of a weird horror. It turned into like a horror, but also a comedy, and I just couldn't really decide which way to go, and it was... So this year then, I started writing an essay collection because I had some ideas for that, and I really got into that, and I wrote 2 essays of it already. But honestly, I didn't feel ready for that yet. I do like the essays that came out of it, but I wasn't really at a spot in my personal growth where I felt like I could write about everything. So yeah, I shelved that again. I hope this video isn't getting too chaotic. I'm a little unorganized, I'm noticing. I'm jumping a little bit, but I'm trying to do it chronologically. So that was my journey in like January, February. And then at the beginning of March, I settled on a new story. And I got really excited about it. And I am still really excited about it, but it's going to take a while before I finish that one. But I'm pitching it sort of as a fantasy underwater oligarchy meets Great Gatsby. And it's a sapphic romance is a big part of that. So it sounds really cool. I'm really excited. I wrote 1 chapter. I liked that chapter. Then I got COVID, and that book got shelved for now. So then I was sick for 2 months. My brain was completely unusable for like 3 to 4. And yeah, I did not write. So I didn't write from March to April. And then during that time, I also started really feeling the pressure of building my author platform. And that's also been a journey for me this year, because there's so much advice on where you have to be present and you have to post on social media every day. And there's so many different platforms. And I kept hearing that I won't sell any books unless I, have a big following. And the problem is that social media and those, in general, like social interactions like that, are very exhausting for me. So when I put a lot of energy in that, a lot of other stuff just kind of fell behind, because I couldn't... It seems silly because a post seems like something you can do so quickly, but it's not quick for me. And I realized that while I do really want to build an author platform, I can't burn myself out on that, because that's not going to be... It's not working for me. So that's kind of when I started this channel too. And I love doing these videos because it lets me connect to people and use the social media in a way, while allowing me to really focus on what I want to talk about and not feel pressure to do it like every day. It's, it's once a week, and I'm really enjoying this channel. So that's what came out of there. But during that time, I was very much feeling like I need to grow everything so quickly. And it's kind of funny, a little frustrating, but kind of funny, because during that time, I was at 400 something Instagram followers, and I really wanted to get to 500. And I was like, okay, I need to be at 1,000 before the launch, because otherwise I will sell no books. And then my Instagram account got hacked, and they're all gone. I have 40 now. And in a way, it's sort of freeing, because now I just posted a photo of my Christmas tree, and I'm like, yep, I don't want to strategize. And maybe it'll bite me in the butt later. Maybe not. I don't know. That was part of the writing adjacent journey for me this year as well. Just learning that certain things that are supposed to build your career as an indie author just, I think, can't be rushed into several months in what might take years, because it's not healthy. And I recognize that it's going to be a little bit of a longer journey like that, but I think I preferred over sitting here and going, what's going to go viral, what's going to go viral. And I also like, you know, I felt the pressure to just comment on everyone's posts, and that, as I said, that takes a lot of energy. So there was, okay, so I recovered. Then like April, May, I was really focusing on that. I was focusing on getting the channel up, and I also started, you know, writing scripts. So that was also additional writing to everything. So while I was wrapped up in all of that, I had a new idea, and I already have like, you know, a long list of ideas written down, some more worked out, some less, some just headlines where I'm like, what was it again? And I definitely added a lot of ideas to that list this year. I think I have like 30 books to write now, but I had one specific idea that really stuck with me. And it was very different from my Nano project. It stuck with me because the characters just wanted to be heard. And that's how my book, I keep saying my book, so Goddess of Limbo, my debut, also started because the characters just needed to be heard. And I had the same feeling with this one, and it made me really excited. This is kind of a running joke between me and my wife now, but I said that I'm going to write a short story about them. And I tend to do that. I've done that since I was a teenager, say like, I'm going to write a short story about them. And now the short story has the first 3 chapters because that's how short stories work. Epic fantasy. I have a lot of words. Cheers to that, and to this video being probably much longer than I anticipated it to be. So I started writing a short story called Eggs and Pickles. Eggs with Pickles. Eggs with Pickles. I really loved it. And then I suddenly had the title for like the whole book in my head, and I'm like, I'm not writing the whole book. And then I had like, okay, eggs with pickles, lovely. It starts at this adult scene. It'd be really interesting if we go back to the childhood and just see one chapter from there, and then that chapter turned into the whole book. So I ended up starting my contemporary, I'm calling it like my contemporary queer platonic love story. So it's about 2 queer foster kid runaways who find home with each other and their friendship and the coming of ageness of that circumstances and their identities. So very, very vague description of it. It's not finished yet either, but I started writing that in June, and that became my new...
Just broke my chair.
That became my new, hopefully, query project, and it will be now. So I wrote that from June till the end of November, beginning of December. I did NaNoWriMo with it, and it's now sitting at about 70k. I think it needs about another 20k to be finished, about roughly. It's really hard to say because, as I was saying in earlier videos, I hand wrote the first 40k, 35k about in a notebook. I didn't count every single word, so I'm not entirely sure. But I hand wrote it because I was really, really struggling with chronic migraines this year. It's the whole summer, basically. It just was really bad. And hopefully it won't be like that the next year. But I wanted to keep writing, so I wrote in a notebook. And now having them both in this project, I do prefer typing, and I do prefer on the laptop. I think notebooks are a really great way to unstuck yourself, but in general I feel like I personally produce much more and actually better work too on the laptop. Still, I wrote the first half of that in a notebook, and then during NaNoWriMo the second half of it on my laptop, and I'm very happy about the book so far. I do have the feeling of, I don't know, is this a story? Does this have a plot? I can never tell if it has a plot. Like, that's definitely a Planter and Panther problem, because, you know, if you outline everything, you follow the beats. But it's done the same thing that that Goddess of Limbo did, where the story just changed so much. You start writing the story, and then you get halfway in, and then suddenly, you know, a completely different story, and then you get a little bit further and you rearrange everything again. So it the main conflict changed, the ending changed, the format of the book changed. So it'll probably need some, you know, in my second draft, I'll need to put all those elements back together so that they fit. But I am pretty happy with how it is so far. But I couldn't quite finish it this year. In fact, I stopped writing it about 2 weeks ago for a number of reasons. Partially because holidays, but more so, Goddess of Limbo is requiring more attention again. I also, while writing my new work in progress, I went through the last self-edit of Goddess of Limbo. So I did 3 edit passes, I think. I did the beta reader feedback incorporation in February, March, I said? Yeah, February, I think. And then I went through it myself again and just super thin-combed proofread and finding issues. Yes, 3. So super thin-combed, and I like looked for things like commas, and I went through my self-edit program, and I really looked at everything because I wanted it as clean as possible for the copy edit. Because I think it's really good when you get it very, very clean, because then they really can find whatever you missed. And it's not like, okay, they'll clean up everything that you saw and they saw. No, they can specifically just focus on what you missed. And I can be certain that they'll improve upon my work instead of just doing what I could have done. So that makes sense. So I did that edit. And then this summer, I had a couple more details that I realized. And the story started for me 3.5 years ago. And while I was writing it, I was diversifying it because at the beginning it was just, I was not quite the person yet that I'm today, and I didn't have that knowledge, and I hadn't realized yet how wide perspective centric, like I already knew that I was queer and other things, but it was still very white centric when I first started working on it, and I had thought that I had changed it and adjusted and I rewrote full characters. I took some characters out. I very much gave it a full makeover already, but in summer, when thankfully I picked up some more books and educated myself further, I realized one thing that I had kind of overlooked, which is that one of the angelic-esque, I don't want to give away too much here, but one of the celestial-esque figures was blonde and blue-eyed, and I thought about them like, why? Why did I make them blonde and blue-eyed? And I had no reason other than that's what I associated with angels. And why did I associate it with angels? Because I grew up in small town Germany with, you know, all religious like imagery being blonde and blue-eyed, and that's not good. So I thought it over, and I just, after I had done the final self-edit, I pulled it on again and I rewrote this character a little bit because I just didn't want that. And I want to mark here that it's not a good idea to say, oh, you want to make the character whatever, so you just, you know, change the skin color last minute. No, don't do that, because especially, I mean, in a fantasy world, you really need to understand first how ethnicity plays a part in all of this. But especially if you have a contemporary story or something, it's not going to work because you're just erasing the background they would be coming from. In this situation, I had actually already written a background that would have justified a not blonde, blue-eyed look, and I had still written it. So it wasn't too hard of a fix because it should have been that. But yeah, I went back and edited that again. So cheers to growth on this. Just if you ever felt bad on this, we all come from our own perspectives and our own upbringings and prejudices. And if you're a white person, you have benefited from racism all your life. So it's important to, you know, educate yourself and realize things like this. That's not the topic of this video, but I did one more edit. That's what I'm saying here. Also, I want to add a couple more details to one of my favorite characters that is everyone's favorite character, and I guess I just wanted to make him even cooler because he's awesome. So. And now Goddess of Limbo is with my copy editor, and it can come back any second. I'm not kidding. So this has been 3 years in the making, and I'm nervous. I'm feeling some nerves, but I'm also excited. That being said, seeing as 2020 was 2020, my publishing budget has gotten a bit reduced a little bit, and some things changed. So I had already been studying some of the Adobe things. I've been studying Premiere Pro, and I had started looking into Photoshop. I put down my current work in progress to really focus on studying Photoshop, because previously I wanted to hire a cover artist, but we just do not have the funds for that at the moment. So I am going to create my cover, hopefully. There's a chance that in January I'm going to panic and try to come up with the money to hire a cover artist and push everything back. But my studies have been going well so far, so hopefully I can do it. So I've been putting last minute stuff together for it before I get the copy edits back. I've been studying Photoshop, working on cover ideas and the first designs. I've put together the glossary, and I still need to do the family tree. So there's going to be some add-ons at the end of the book. I definitely want to have glossary, family trees, and there's also going to be a trigger warning list, which I'm going to put together while working through the content edit, because I don't have it all stuck in my head, and it's a dark fantasy, so it's dark. And that's where I'm currently at with my writing, waiting for the copy edit while educating myself. I really wanted to get my work in progress done this year, before the end of the year. Actually, I wanted to get it done in November, and then I wanted to get it done at the end of the year, but I got sick at the end of November, and the fact is just Goddess of Limbo is going to be published next year, and I want it to be as good as I can make it. If this work in progress gets finished a little later, it's not a problem. It just pushes back my hopefully future timeline a little bit. So I decided to put it down for now. And I guess the last writing in review, I'm also currently writing a short story. Also put that down for a few days, a week, because things happened. But I'm working on a sci-fi YA short story, which is a challenge, but an exciting one. I have not written YA since I was YA, I think. I actually do read a good amount of YA, mostly though because those are the books that have like the cool queer plots, but I usually prefer adult stories, and I very much prefer writing adult stories, but I saw a really great contest that I want to submit my story to, so I'm writing it. And yeah, that's going pretty well, but that has to be done by March 1st, so I'm also working on that. And that's been my writing year in review. I really want to go month by month and explain it a little bit more, but I hope this was still interesting. That's been 2020. In summary, I did 3 more edit rounds on my Dear Goddess of Limbo. Now that sounds like a lot, but you gotta understand, I already had a query ready in November last year, so that was already as good as I can make it. And then I added 3 more rounds on that. So it wasn't like huge rounds. And then I started a short story, turned into a book, which is almost finished, and started another short story, and started another book, which is now on the back burner for a little bit, for a year or 2. It's in my write me soon pile, but also, my fantasy series is a series, and I gotta start that sequel soon. Although I wanted to get the first one out first before I start the sequel. Not because I'm like, no, what if it flops or anything, but just because I don't trust that I won't change anything, like that change in September. I just wanted to be completely finalized before I start the sequel, just because it's my first sequel. And yeah, that's been my writing year. So let's drink to that. And before we go into 2021, tell me how 2020 went for you writing wise, and if it did not go don't beat yourself up. It was a year. As I said with acting, I'm just going to mention it again in this context. It did not go. I had like a couple of auditions and I got a really cool role at the beginning of the year that then got cancelled. So you're still just as much of an artist and a writer and whatever kind of storyteller you are. If you did not accomplish anything this year, if you didn't produce new art this year, because just making it through this year is enough. If you heard everything and said, oh gosh, she did a lot, then please don't blame yourself. Forgive yourself. So, New Year's goals. Now, the really big one. I'm going to probably show back next year, do another review video, and then show these clips. So, hi future me! I love you! The really big goal is to publish Goddess of Limbo. The publication date is, I don't have a specific date yet, but the publication month I'm hoping for is June. I hope it will be published in June, but I really want to get formatting, cover. I want to hold the book before I can actually determine when it will be out. But I'm hoping June. So, my first big goal is to publish that. I had to stop recording for a second to empty my SD card, and now I don't quite remember where I was. So, publishing Goddess of Limbo is my main goal for 2021. Right, I was telling you what still needs to be done for that. So, all the parts of the books are currently coming together. I will be going over the copy edits in January. Even if I get it tomorrow, I probably won't be doing it in the last 3 days of 2020. So soon. And then there's a lot of marketing to figure out and that kind of stuff. Another sort of writing adjacent goal is I'll be posting videos more regularly, and I'm really excited to grow this channel and to post more videos of the new types I kind of created. If you haven't seen yet, the new Saving Tropes segment is up already, so is the Encounter Culture. I've got a new Toxic trope coming, and I'm very excited to write a bunch more of those. I have the full year plan theoretically, so in theory. So the channel growth goal I kind of have in mind. Do I have a channel growth goal? I don't know. It's actually kind of hard for me still to figure out how quick channels grow, but I'm at 95 right now. I definitely hope to hit 100. I think I'm going to hit 100. 200 would be really cool. Maybe 300? I don't know. That might be a little bit too far reaching for the stars. So, but then again, like I got to 95 in half a year. Anyway, hello subscribers. I'm really grateful that I have you all already, and I hope that I'll be adding more of you to the new year. It sounds like I'm storing in some kind of bag. Hello, my bag of subscribers. That's the Halloween special. Moving on. Another writing goal of mine is to finish my contemporary work in progress. I want to finish that at the beginning of the year, so definitely in the first quarter still. I know that quarter is going to be busy, but it's important to me that I finish this first draft as soon as possible. And I would like to have it query ready by the end of the year, but I'm not certain that's going to happen. So it's not going to be an epic fantasy, so the editing should go quicker. I definitely want to do a second draft before I give it to beta readers, and then there's going to be the beta reader process, and then another draft, and then maybe it's query ready. And then maybe it's query ready. So it's a bit of a stretch, but I want to at least have it with beta readers by the end of the year. So at least the first and second draft done, and me being confident in giving it to people. That's the goal for that story. Then I want to finish my short story and submit it, which is also a first quarter goal. Da, 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 da. Kombucha moment. Because the short story submission is due in the 1st of March, and I would like to give it to a couple of beta readers as well, so hopefully the first draft of that's going to be ready in the first 2 weeks of January. And then the edits. So yeah, that's another goal of mine. I want to have the short story ready before I finish my work in progress, so juggling my writing projects, which I'm not normally that good at, but I'm learning. And then after that, so publishing Goddess of Limbo, and once again, my current work in progress is going to take up most of the year as well, but I would like to keep drafting as well. So I don't want to just edit for a year, because I feel like drafting and editing are different skills, and I kind of want to keep both of them going and expanding. Otherwise, I don't know if I would get rusty, but I don't want to risk it. I definitely want to start a new story this year, and there's 2 contenders for that. I'm planning to start the second book in Forgotten Splinters Chronicles at the beginning of the year after, so 2022. That might change, but right now I am planning to write a novella in between the 2 books, partially because I want to give people a feel of the world before they necessarily commit to the epic fantasy, because picking up a really big book can sometimes be a little intimidating, and I would love to have a smaller introduction into it, and partially because I think it would be really great to build out some backstory. So I have plans for a prequel novella. And novella sounds short, novella sounds quick to write. Let's see. In August when I did my last Kozy Kombucha talk, July? Not sure. I was so optimistic about so many things, and I might be eating my words on this, but I that one is sort of next on the docket. But another one that is very much on the docket that I would like to write very soon, and here's kind of the problem, because I really, really, really want to finish my series, and I don't want to be the kind of author that makes people wait for like 4 or 5 years. But at the same time, I also know that I'm not going to be the indie author that publishes 2 books a year. I can't. It's a longer process for me. I don't write that quickly, and especially with the size of the books, it's going to take some time. Another reason why I would like to write a novella. But there's another story that is very much itching in my fingers, and it's another fantasy story, but it's middle grade, so it's going to be shorter too. And I should have probably mentioned it in the last review, but I completely outlined it already, very detailed actually, which I normally don't do. And I feel like that one would be quick to write. Once again, also might be incorrect. But I'm kind of excited to write that one too, and I feel like that would be a really good one for the traditional market. So right now it's called The Dawners and Duskers, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe during Camp Nano, or maybe NaNoWriMo or something, I could focus in on those projects. One of those 2, I probably will not do both, but one of those 2 would be really great to write in 2021. And yeah, those are my 4 main writing goals. So I want to publish Goddess of Limbo, I want to finish and hopefully query ready my contemporary novel, I want to finish and submit my short story to the contest, and I want to start a next short book. So, yee! You all tell me what you want to do. Think about real quick what you want to achieve in 2021, and then we're going to do something that my wife said is safe. Fireworks! You have your 2021 wishes, your 2021 goals, your 2021 writerly intentions. Yay! Yay! Yay? So this was the one for 2020. 2021! Yay! A much better year! It's definitely going to work here! Oh god. Ha! Da 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 da. Because all your wildly intentions are going to be coming true in 2021, and you got this! We are awesome! We are awesome! Playing epic music! Yay! Well, that's it, dear Story Manifestor. Please comment, subscribe, tell me about your goals. Love you, see you in the new year!